Man, I want to contextualize it as I'm suffering from burnout again, but I don't know if that really encompasses everything that's been going on. So I'll give you guys a quick timeline of events. So for the last few years, we haven't had heat or air conditioning in the house. Now, we have it now, thanks to interventions from a patron and the expertise of Dorito and my friend Fleur and Grav coming over to help. We've got AC working again in the house, which is fantastic. That's basically what I've been needing for ages. And I thought that with all of that getting fixed, theoretically, we should be in a really good spot mentally. We should be in a very, very good spot mentally. We should be able to get back to doing content and everything, and yet I have been in a giant rut. Now, granted, some of that is because of the new medications that I've been on. So I've been on Contrave, which is a weight loss medication, which is made from combining an anti-anxiety and an anti-narcotic medication. And apparently, when you combine those medications together, you get a really good weight loss medication. But the problem you run into is that there's a lot of side effects that come with that. I don't want to go over all the ones I've been experiencing, but one of them is pretty heavy mood fluctuations, and I've been struggling to handle those. Now, that is entirely on me. That is something that I need to get a hold of. It's my body, my situation. It is a thing that I need to come to grips with, because this is my current normal. The benefits of the medication, though, have been that my appetite has been a lot lower. It's been a lot easier to control binge eating. I've actually lost 6 pounds so far, which is technically within the rate of what you would expect with water weight fluctuations. So I'm not 100% certain how much of that is based entirely on the intervention of the medication, but I will take every W that I possibly can right now. I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. I've lost the weight, and I'm gonna continue to lose weight, at least from what it looks like. So hopefully that continues to be the normal for me. The mood fluctuations, I've gotten somewhat of a handle on. I say somewhat because it's never going to be super perfect. I did get diagnosed with a major depressive disorder. I did get diagnosed with my anxiety disorder. Stuff that I knew that I had, but having a professional basically tell me, hey, by the way, this is what you're experiencing and it's real, definitely has its own benefits for my day-to-day well-being. It's easier for me to kind of cope with standard shit in the day that is brought on by that when there's a medical professional who is going, yeah, you actually do have these problems. That's not just all in your head. It is a thing that you have to wrestle with, and that sucks, but it is a thing that is real that you can wrestle with. So hopefully I can get the mood fluctuations kind of under control, so that will not be as much of a problem going forward. Hopefully I'll be able to get my depression a little more under control. One of the medications I'm on, like I said, is actually an antidepressant first and foremost. And while that does have the benefit of, doubling up as an as weight loss when combined the way it is still an antidepressant that maybe will have a positive effect on things going forward. I'm not 100% certain. Regardless, though, the end result of all that has been an inability to get content done. And that's been content on every front, period. And that's been really, really frustrating for me, because one of my major frustrations with myself is feeling like I'm a failure, feeling like I'm not doing enough. Now, granted, I am a content creator. These are imposter syndrome style things that every content creator eventually has to deal with. If you take any amount of pride in your work, there is going to be a voice in the back of your head telling you that you should not take pride in that work, and that is an eventuality that you should plan for. And if you don't plan for it, it's going to happen no matter what. For a lot of people, imposter syndrome's a bitch. Just expect that it's gonna happen, expect that it's gonna suck, but it's not the end of the world. It is a thing that I can definitely, as far as I'm concerned, I believe I'll be able to get under control eventually. I've been dealing with it for years, so here we are. Anyway, like I said, the end result of all of this has been an inability to get work done, and one of the main ways that that has manifested has been not even being able to do work that should regenerate my spoons. My Magic the Gathering channel is kind of, this is the hobby channel that I've turned into a monetized channel so that I have a thing where I can have a creative outlet that doesn't screw me over mentally, and yet I still end up running into the same problems where that channel is concerned, irrespective of the fact that it was envisioned entirely as a side thing that I could do that could start rejuvenating my mental, and it does that. It's not that it doesn't do that. It's not that having that secondary creative outlet doesn't have that benefit, but that benefit doesn't make it not work. It's still work at the end of the day. And so my brain, when it is in its worst states, still perceives that as a hurdle that has to be taken on. And that comes with every single problem that any hurdle like that possibly could. So that's not me trying to make excuses for not getting content done. That's me hopefully throwing a bone out there to anybody else who may struggle with the same thing so that you can feel seen, you can feel heard. I know that having a professional tell me that the problems that I've been dealing with are real and are not in my head definitely did a lot to help me personally, and this is functionally a version of that. There are people who, despite being quote-quote successful enough to make this their career, still run into all of the same problems that everybody else does here. Imposter syndrome, lack of energy, inability to get work done, all of that is... It doesn't go away. It doesn't go away just because you're making a certain amount of money. It doesn't go away just because you're whatever arbitrary measure of success you feel like you've achieved. It doesn't just disappear. It's a thing that you're always going to have to be wrestling with, and that sucks. But hey, coming to terms with it, recognizing that it is part of your reality is probably going to do you a lot better than sitting back and pretending that things will get better if you just ignore them, if you just pretend a little while longer. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. Anselin says, yeah, I want to find that voice that says do better, go faster, and evict it from my head. So the thing is, that voice is a very important part of my creative process, because if that voice isn't telling me to do better, I don't have an incentive to do better. I have a certain amount of pride in my work, obviously, but that only takes you so far. A lot of times I've used my own depression, my own inner voice, my own inner frustrations as motivation to do better, to get better. And there is a measure by which that's not entirely healthy. That's not a super healthy thing to have as your motivating factor. Your brain's most abusive words it can throw at you, pushing you forward. So do you know what's healthy? Putting a banana on your head? I wouldn't say that that's healthy. I would just say that that's... like, it's just putting a banana on your head. I'd say it's more weird than anything. But maybe there's some health in, accepting that weirdness. Maybe there's some health in making peace with the fact that that's weird and that's okay. So I thought you put it in your ear. Yeah, you put a banana in your ear. Just put a banana right into your favorite ear. It's true. It's true. The dreary of the world is hard to hear when in your ear a banana cheers. So put a banana in your ear. Yeah, I feel that one. Zine, how's it going? It says, new chatter, how are you doing? Welcome to the channel. Hopefully you are having an okay day so far. I am just kind of updating everybody in chat on what's been going on my side of things. The good, the bad, and just how that's kind of manifested in the channel being what it's being right now. Aaron says, funny, speaking of weirdness, I have a strange, rare Final Fantasy pairing. Okay, I'm not... I appreciate that you do, that's cool, but as a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, I assure you, there is no pairing anybody could throw at me from any video game franchise at all that phases me or interests me. I have spent long enough in a fandom where that is everybody's favorite thing, like, all the time, forever. And so I appreciate that that is a thing you're excited for. Lass says, living despite yourself isn't really healthy. I see it that way from what was said. Said living despite yourself isn't really healthy. It may be not really healthy, but it is for some of us, especially for me. It may be one of the only ways that we get shit done. A thing that I had to come to terms with ages ago, actually, which was not super fun to realize, but, you know, once you realize that it's the case, it kind of helps a little bit. I realized that my channel had been an escape for me for a very long time. And once my life became one that I wanted, as the house became a better place for me to be, as the company that I kept was healthier for me, as that happened, my channel stopped being an escape for me because that company that I kept, everything about that, became my escape instead. And suddenly my channel became the excruciating thing for my life, which was not a fun realization, but it is one that you, like, once you have that, you're like, oh, right, that is a thing that I have to come to terms with. That's a thing that I gotta contend with. I can't use my channel as an escape because, like, I don't have my old job from years ago where my channel was the alternative to it. Like, it is the job. It is just what you realize, like, this is your norm. Accept that it's your norm. Operate with it being your norm. And if you're not a super big fan of it, well, your escapes all became work. So, same thing with Magic the Gathering. Like, I love Magic. That is by and large one of my favorite hobbies ever. But a thing to recognize is that by turning it into one of my channels, it stopped being an escape for me. It stopped being something that made life better for me. It became another job, another source of work, another source of income. There's benefits to that, obviously. Like, being able to write my Magic the Gathering cards off on taxes is certainly helpful. I'm not going to deny that. Taxes for content creation definitely sucks ass balls. But, you know, that benefit doesn't stop it from being what it is. Said Barnes & Noble's is my escape room. Yeah, we don't have any of those near us. I mean, we do, like 20 minutes away. Not close enough for me to go to a lot. I say 20 minutes away, like 30 or 35 minutes away, something like that. How's it going, Bonbon? How's it going, Bonbon? Dorito says, and your house is almost done with my known parts. Yep, we get the electrical done, and we get the secondary room set up, and all done, and then I believe that's basically everything. The only thing that could possibly be done after that would be insulation, because the house is not properly insulated, and that is another determining factor to the amount of money that's been hemorrhaged from the house. So getting that in check would definitely be helpful, but that's, you know, that is a thing for later. That Gooey Kitty says, working on more arts. Nice! Dorita says, wait, do I get to plan your secondary room? The rooms are already planned. The den, we already put the conduits up, and you know what the electrical plan is for the basement. Those are the secondary and tertiary rooms of the house. Once those are electrified, then the daisy chaining fire hazard bullshit of the house goes away. Said you put up the conduits of the den? I didn't. But Grav and Fleur did. Well, not the conduits. The things that the... You know, the things that the plugins get into. I'm not thinking of the word, and I'm not going to try to stretch my cognition to remember the word. Not my area of expertise. Oh, the gang boxes. Gotcha. Yeah, those things. Again, not my area of expertise. I'm not going to push myself to remember the terminology. I struggle to remember the terminology in things that I actually am an expert in, which is shockingly few things. Shockingly few things in general. That said, this is, again, just me giving you guys an update on everything that's been going on, where things have been, why content has been sparse. The only channel it hasn't really been sparse on, I think, has been the live channel, where this ultimately will end up. And that's mostly because that's the least strenuous content for me to make of any of the content that I ever make or plan. It's the easiest thing in the world to just, you know, look at the news of the day and respond to it, as opposed to, you know, arguing against a specific content creator or specific ideology, or trying to deal with a specific issue in Magic the Gathering or build a deck. Like, the easiest thing in the world to do is just look at the news and react to it and say, wow, this is bad. Which, you know, I understand why the Quartering does it as his entire thing. It's, again, easiest thing in the world to do. Takes no effort. It's mentally exhausting when you put stock in the end result of the things you talk about, but fuck the USA. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you for the stretch, Lily. I appreciate. Dorita says, you're good. When I asked about setting up the second room, I meant about installing wood for framing so insulation can be added, etc. Oh, right. Underneath the house. So that area, I'm just going to let be what it is for the time being. I'm not going to worry about insulating that room until we get a another air conditioning zone installed in there and the trapdoor installed in there so that there's easy access to it. I'm not worried at all about that particular room until we get all of that done, so that I have a guest space ready for people. Because an issue that we ran into when we had to rescue Eve, my brain blanked on online names, so apologize, but Arachne. When we had to rescue Arachne, one of the problems that Saki and I ran into was that we lost freedom in our house. And that is not me saying that I, you know, regret us taking care of Arachne for as long as we did so that they could get to New Zealand and she could get herself set up over there. I don't regret any of those decisions. I think everything that I did was what needed to be done at the end of the day. But in order to continue being able to do stuff like that in the future, if and when the necessity arises, I need to have the house set up differently so that my sanity isn't thrown on the chopping block as a result. I like having privacy in my own spaces. I like being able to do that, and I have had to deny friends places to stay for long periods of time because the alternative is losing access to those private spaces and no longer being able to just kind of have me and Saki exist as us together without other random shit involved. If you've ever dealt with roommates before for any amount of time, you know how much that can stress any relationship you have. I'm not giving up the happiness and stability of my current relationship if I can help it. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that that's not going to be a problem going forward. Stop says accidental third wheeling. That is a thing that can happen. There's a lot of shit that can happen as a result of it that is just not a-okay. And it's never anybody's fault. Like, the last thing you ever want to do is, you know, point to the person who doesn't have the wherewithal, doesn't have the means to be anywhere else or do anything else, and they're just trying to get on their feet. And, like, the worst thing you can ever do is point to that person and say, by the way, my stress is coming from you. Like, that is one of the worst things you can do to a person who is in the recovery process, who is trying to, you know, get on their feet. It is not a healthy thing to throw on them at all. So making sure that there's a private area for a person as a temporary thing when the needs come up, that is a necessity going forward. Even in the world where we never have to utilize that particular contingency ever again, which would be astronomically convenient, let me tell you. Even in the world where we never have to use the contingency of Suris goes and rescues a person physically ever again, having the room available as a just in case, it can't hurt. It can only help. Jessica Davis says, hey, Iran dropped a diss track on Trump. I'm not interested in Iran's diss track. I'm not. I don't think we should be at war with them, but I also don't think that they are a nation that I particularly support in general. Ansel says, friend had a house where you had to go through the bedroom to the only bathroom. I didn't understand why I always left when her husband went to bed. Yeah. Like, I can imagine having to pass through the bedroom in order to, like, do your business. It would feel like I'm violating a person's space every time I needed to simply do my business in any way, shape, or form. I could not. I absolutely could not. Sylvie says, I feel like you're directly calling me and my roommate out. I know you're not. It just hits every fucking mark so far to how stressed I am to be around her now. Yeah, it is that way all the time. So, a reality of being an adult is realizing that sharing a living space long-term with somebody is less like having a forever sleepover, and it's more like stress testing your relationship on hard mode. And that's not just like sexual relationships. That's every relationship you ever have, whether it be with friends, family, etc. Think of every fight you ever could get in with your parents, your siblings, etc., and realize that one of the main contributing factors to that friction, to that fight, was the shared living space more than anything else. So definitely getting to the point where you realize, oh, it's not that I don't like any of the people involved in my life right now. It is that I want a space away from them so that I can maintain the friendships that I have with them. Oftentimes, the worst thing you can do for a long-term friendship is move in with that long-term friend. Sometimes people get lucky. There's going to be that one person in the comments section that says that their relationship, their friendship, their whatever is like uniquely better and fuck you, sir, so they don't have to worry about that shit. That's cool. I'm so happy for you that that's the case. I'm explaining the reality for most people. And that's one of the reasons why one of the stressors that we've had is getting the house set up so that, you know, the eventuality of somebody needs help, somebody needs a rescue, somebody needs something like that, we can have that taken care of. Because if I don't set that stuff up now, there's going to be a situation like what happened with Arachne, where I got the message of, hey, I know you helped me years ago, but things have gotten worse because of X, Y, and Z, and I feel like this may be my last message. Like, that, getting that message was enough to make me go, all right, no, legit, everything in life is on hold, I am now taking a trip. Like, that's recognizing that that's an eventuality, not something that isn't ever gonna happen again in my life, because it's happened multiple times, is important. So hopefully we can get shit sorted out there. My biggest concern is that despite the fact that things are coming together in those regards, things are improving in those regards, it feels like my stress levels aren't going down. And yet, like, a lot of the stressors in my life are being eliminated. And I think one of my biggest frustrations is trying to figure out how to deal with that reality. Because everything getting better and then just your brain not perceiving them as improving is confusing to me. Like, as a pragmatic person that tries to look at things in a way where I can, like, cut out all the fat and optimize them and get them set up in a way where they function well, when my brain is the one thing that's not getting optimized and functioning well, that is a frustration, let me tell you. That is a double plus ungood issue that I do not want to deal with. But, hey, it is what it is. Anyway, that's what's been going on. That's where a lot of the time has gone. We've still got plenty of shit to do around the house again. And also, there's other things that are happening this year that are sucking up time as well. Saki got approved for bottom surgery consultation. She's been approved for her top surgery. And she's been approved for electrolysis. So every week we've been going to, or we're having to go to the electrolysis center, which is down in Atlanta. And so, like, a day where some of my hours are normally dedicated to one type of content creation, are now having to be dedicated to traveling to and from the city, which is, by the way, one of the reasons that Dorito had to install my level 2 charger. Because there's no way we'd be able to do this like back and forth to Atlanta bullshit constantly if we didn't have the level 2 charger. The car when I go to and from Atlanta drops like 35% of its battery. Dorita says, how's the charger been working for you? Very well. The charger gets the car up to full in about 5 hours typically, even on the lower power settings that we have things at. So that's actually really good. 847 Lily says, so what's the difference between levels of charges, if you don't mind explaining it? Sure. So a level 1 charger is a trickle charger. That is a charger that will charge an electric car via a regular standard outlet. It basically uses the same tech and everything that your phone uses, because your car is a giant lithium-ion battery when you have an EV. And that battery getting charged from the wall only receives about 15% of its full charge every 24 hours. It's a very small amount of charge because it can only pull so much out of the wall. Then, when you go to a level 2 charger, those use the same kind of outlet that your dryer uses, so and your stove uses. So the amount of power that would be needed to get a giant heating element functioning, that's what a level 2 charger uses. That's their tech. So with a level 2 charger, it can pull enough power to charge your car ridiculously fast. Then a level 3 charger is one that isn't It's a house cannot charge a level 3 charger. A house cannot power one of those things. It does not work at all. That is simply not a thing that they can do. Level 3 chargers pull enough charge to charge a car in 20 minutes to full. They are the kinds of chargers that you'll see at truck stops, at gas stations. They are the kinds of chargers that are meant to be stopped at for a brief bit, like a gas pump, and then left. They charge the car super quick, and they do technically damage the battery a little bit. Supercharging like that does have negative effects on the life of your battery, so don't do it very often. But those things are charged by like these giant dedicated batteries that are shoved into concrete, not unlike giant gas pumps. It looks very much like a gas pump out in the middle of nowhere. So you can charge super fast on them, but your house is not powering that thing. It's just not happening. 847 says, so it's a bomb for electric car. I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't think that word means anything for... Why are you using the word bomb? What does that mean to you? I'm confused. But anyway, because of those appointments, because of everything else that's going on, every aspect of the recent changes to the house is having to be done and maintained. But hopefully, once the electrolysis is done, or at least slows down, we have 50 appointments for electrolysis, but after the first, 5 or 6, they're supposed to be able to slow down. So maybe once that's done, and once the surgeries are taken care of, things will improve. Hopefully. That's the hope. Also, just as a forewarning for later streams, I may be hosting, not a subathon, because I know those aren't healthy for me, and I know that my chat's going to get, really pissed if I do one, but I may be doing a fundraiser later on in order to get enough for the travel costs for Saki's bottom surgery. Because while the top surgery will be handled in Atlanta, the bottom surgery will not be handled in Atlanta. And we're going to have to deal with flights and hotels and all that other fun shit. Lenari says 50? Goddamn. Right, so the reason that it's 50 is because the way electrolysis works is they take a little electrified needle and they shove it into the individual pore that has, or the individual root canal that houses a hair. The problem is that the electricity can only ever get a hair that is available on the surface for getting. That's the only way that they can tell that there's a hair with a root or anything in the first place. So because of that, you run into a problem where you can only get a handful of hairs at a time because your face will not grow everything all at once anyway. It just doesn't do that. It has stuff that's waiting in the whims for when a hair gets shaved or cut or what have you, so that it can put them out really quickly. So you've got to have the electrolysis kill a bunch of hair roots, and then the hair roots that aren't gotten have to regrow, and then the electrolysis has to go in and kill those hair roots again. And you run into the fact that electrolysis is actually a fairly painful process. And because it's a fairly painful process, there is a limit to how long you can do it to any individual before their pain just is too much. Like, so you want the term hair follicle? Sure, hair follicle. You are correct. Said that sounds kinky. But no, point is, with any of that, you are ultimately dealing with the body not being cooperative with technology. So you have to go in again and again and again and again and again until everything is gone. Once it's all gone, all the scarring is under the surface, and everything is done and taken care of, and that's all fine and dandy once that is finished. But until that's finished, until you get to that point, you are gonna have to go through procedure after procedure after procedure until it is all done. Even the bottom surgery is gonna have to be done in 2 stages, which is that was not information that I was super happy hearing, because we have to go and do 2 bits of travel for that. At least that's what the stuff that I've looked at says, because I don't want to get into the details for bottom surgery, but one of the procedures constructs one thing and one of the procedures constructs another, and they don't always have the ability to get done at the same time, apparently. Said, what depth? Huh? Yeah, no, I'm not answering you the depth of my girlfriend's vagina. That's not happening. I'm sorry. No. That one's weird. That's a very weird question. Ansel says, I'm doing the pluck each hair 1,000 times to kill the follicle routine. I don't trust the salon beautician electrolysis places. Anselin, that's not going to kill the follicles. I'm sorry, but I hate to tell you this, but plucking them 1 billion times will not kill them. I know that's not what you want to hear, but as somebody who's friends with enough trans people who do the pluck 1 billion times thing, they do it forever. So that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. That's why electrolysis is what it is. It is the only FDA-approved permanent hair removal option. Laser, even laser, is not fully permanent. That's it. That's the updates on everything going on. I am going to get into the politics stuff after I'm done building an army of warthogs to attack Colony, because I didn't want to win immediately. I want to have an army of warthogs because I like warthogs. Yay. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.